Happy New Year, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is Peggy, and on this week's project, this is going to be a part one of a two-part build, and this is going to include a resin pour. This is a piece of black walnut, and I'm cleaning up the live edges, and then I'm going to cut it down the middle, make a mold, and do the resin pour. So stay tuned because the viewers are going to decide what it ultimately becomes. I need everyone to vote because I have it narrowed down between two. So stay tuned and I'll explain that in a little bit. Using a wire wheel on the drill here, and in a moment I'm going to switch to the flat sander that you see sitting there on the slab of walnut. There it is. Between these two, it really did get the edges cleaned up as much as I needed to. Took a little elbow grease, but we got it. And then it was time for sanding. Sanding each of the live edges down because the resin will stick to it better and there will be less possibility for air pockets to create bubbles. So here I am at the bandsaw. I drew a line straight down the middle, or approximately the middle, and trying to be as careful as possible with the bandsaw to cut this in a straight line. And after the slab is cut, I'm using a drill and a bit to make some pilot holes for the mold. This is a piece of melamine. I've had a little bit of practice building molds, and what I could say if you want to do it is take your time. Melamine is great. Use a silicone caulking, which is what I have here. And if you think you're overdoing it, keep overdoing it, because a resin leak is very expensive. And I might have had one or two. Who's counting? This mold, however, worked out great. And it's because I went a little overboard with the tape, the silicone, and making sure everything was good. Sometimes making the mold takes as much as making the item. So here I'm using tuck tape. This is the bottom of the mold. So I used it on the bottom and the insides. And this was probably overkill, the whole bottom. But as I've said, I've had leaks before and they're not very fun. So I just kept putting tape on. But I didn't have one single leak, not even a drop. I was very happy about that. So here's the mold flipped over, and I'm continuing to add tape to the edges and the bottom. I fit the black walnut slab in the mold, and I'm making sure that it's as flush against the sides as possible before clamping it down, using a piece of melamine wrapped in tuck tape to hold the piece down so we don't lose a lot of resin underneath the piece, and seeing if it would seep down. And I'm using Total Boat Thick Set Clear Casting Epoxy for this pour, and I'm going to tint it as well. If you're interested in trying out Total Boat, I do have a coupon code to save you 20%. It's PFWood T20. And if you forgot that, there is a link in the description of the video. So pouring in part A here. And part B. Mixing it up thoroughly using a drill and the paint stirrer. It's important to get the sides and the bottom when you're doing this, in case you're going to try it yourselves. I usually do this for about 2 to 3 minutes. And I really like the thick set Total Boat. It's very easy to work with compared to some of the other resins that I've used. Now I've used some of the epoxy before I put the colorant in it to using this paintbrush to put epoxy on the sides so we get a better adherence and less chance for bubbles. Here's the color, which is an Ecopoxy Maui Blue, I believe it is. Just a really pretty blue. And the moment we all love to watch, the resin pour itself. Here we go. Here I'm using a Scotch-Brite pad to scuff up the epoxy a little bit. I did end up having to do another small pour, and this is just so it will adhere to the first pour very well. And this is the second pour. As you can see, a much smaller amount than the first one. Just wanted to top it off so I didn't lose any of the walnut. I wanted it to stay as thick as it possibly could. So removing the screws from the mold, starting to take everything apart. I gave it about 4 days. I think it was probably ready the day before, but this is about 4 days later. If you use the Total Boat thick set, it does take longer to cure, but it's well worth the wait. So depending on how well you made your mold, it could or could not be difficult to get the mold off. But so, what should I make? Any ideas? I have it narrowed down between a serving tray and wall art. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment. I'd like to get as many votes as possible. As I'm recording this, it's not decided yet still, so let me know. Showing off the resin here. I'm happy with the way it turned out. That's the resin that did seep underneath, so not too much, easy enough to clean up. And then with the planer, starting with some very light passes to clean it down just enough to get that resin off and to make the walnut as smooth as possible. I really do want to get as many votes as possible, so let me know in the comment section down below what you think this should be, a serving tray or wall art. You decide, and I'll finish it with the most votes, I think. We'll see. Anyway, let me know in the comments down below. I appreciate you watching, and as always, peace out.